במכתב מן הגולה כותבת בדמעת עין לבני הטוב בירושלים אביך מת אמך חולה בוא הביתה בן חביב בוא הביתה בן חביב נחכה לך בלי הרף מן הבוקר ליד הערב בוא הביתה לאביב בוא הביתה בן חביב בוא הביתה בוא הביתה בוא בן חביב על נייר פשוט אפור כאפר הולך מכתב אל הגולה כותב חלוץ בדמעת עין שנטר פג בירושלים סלחי לי אמי החולה לא אזוז מפולד לא אזוז מפולד אם עוד אהוב תאהביני בואי הנה וחבקיני ולא אהיה נע ונד לא אזוז מפולד
march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died, yet with a steady beat have not our weary feet come to a place for which our fathers sighed. We have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from the gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, O God, where we met thee, lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand, true to our God, true to our native land, true to our God, true to our native land.
Hello, Shabbat Shalom. Oh, great. My mic is on.
Yeah, very good.
All right. Page 34.
נפשיו הרחמן, ידיד נפשיו הרחמן, משוכב דך אל רצונך, משוכב דך לי אל רצונך, ירוץ עבדך כמו אייל, ישתחווה אל מול הדרך, ירב לו, ידידותך מנופת סוף,
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It's really, really wonderful to be here. It feels like it's been a little while, and so it brings me so much joy to be back up on the bima. I think I was away for Thanksgiving, and so I missed you all. It's nice to be back, and it's really lovely to see almost every single part of our sanctuary has people in it. That's really amazing. And I want to first say a welcome back to the city to Rabbi Kleinbaum. She and Randy were at the state dinner at the White House last night, and we were and we were texting a little bit about it might have been the first time a rainbow kippah was at the White House, and I'm sorry, at the state dinner. That's what I meant. Thank you. Yes, thank you. And just how amazing that is, just how amazing to, so I just want to take a minute to appreciate that and have some gratitude over that. And I also want to celebrate that the Senate passed the Respect for Marriage Act. It's okay for us to acknowledge that it's a small thing, and that we also know that there's more work that needs to be done towards ensuring that our human rights are not taken away from us, but this is still something positive and wonderful, and so we give thanks and gratitude for that. And it's also World AIDS Day Shabbat. So I'm really honored to be here on World AIDS Day Shabbat. And of course, World AIDS Day was yesterday on December 1st, but we take, at CBST, we usually have the Shabbat that's right around December 1st as the time that we get to mark as a community the way that AIDS has impacted our community, and the way that we have so many members that we want to uplift their names and the contributions that they made and the Torah that they studied and the work that they brought into the world, and the fact that we are mourning that they are not here with us today because of AIDS. And so throughout the service, we'll be able to hear from members and from others the names and a tiny bit of the story of some of the people who were members at CBST who are no longer with us. Just to give a little bit of a picture of the way that our community has been so impacted, I think that I'm pretty sure, and somebody who has been here can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that over a quarter of the men who were in the congregation then died from AIDS. So really, it's important that we take this time to really acknowledge it. And with that in mind, to give sort of a picture of where we were back then and where we've come to today, I want to start off by reading a letter that's actually in your program. It's on page 7, so you can follow along with me if you'd like, and I'll just give a little brief background before going into it. So this is a letter from Michael Levian, a member It was written July 26th, 1981, and he's describing the condition that he's in, the devastation that his body has experienced. But you'll notice that, of course, the word AIDS is not mentioned. The word AIDS didn't exist or wasn't known then. And so it's pretty amazing to look back at this letter from where we sit now, from where we are now, knowing what we know now, having gone through not just the plague of AIDS, but now being on the other end of a different plague and thinking about that moment in time before all the devastation has hit, before all the heartbreak, and imagining what's to come. So I'll read along, and folks can follow along on page 7 in the program. He writes, "Dear Howard and Mark, the rest here is doing me good as I try to regain some strength and improve my health. From May until July, I lost 20 pounds, and by the time I left for Israel, both my legs had picked up some severe reaction to something. One of the drugs, which my doctor prescribed me, gave me a hallucinogenic reaction, and for a couple of weeks I lost all bearings, barely making it through the Shabbat service when I observed Yortzeit for my father. Now at least my weight is stabilized, although I must start a tremendous effort to regaining weight, and I am on a maintenance dosage of cortisone until I return to New York. The doctor here said he never saw anything like what has attacked my legs, and after hearing the total situation, suggested admittance into a hospital for 2 to 3 months of tests. That isn't feasible, but testing will begin once I return." So heartbreaking to not even have a name for what was happening. And now, of course, we're in a world that I've inhabited since I was born, where I never knew a world without the name for AIDS. And CBST would go on to lose so many members. And tonight, I really want to have this service be a way of honoring and remembering the members and friends and lovers that we have loved and lost. So with that, I'd like to invite up Regina Linder to, over the course of the service, I want to bring in. You'll see, this was in 1981, where you saw this letter where the word AIDS hadn't even been written in the CBST newsletter yet. And then over the course of the 80s and 90s, that you can track, and I read that wonderful chapter in Rabbi Cohen's book, which everybody really should read. It's really fantastic. Where more and more condolence notices and death notices kept coming and coming and coming. So we'll hear a little bit of that over the course of the service. So Regina, I'd love to invite you up, and thank you so much.
February 1986. With much sadness, we announced the passing of Louis Blake, our member, on December 27, 1985, yet another casualty of AIDS. May his family and friends find comfort in his memory as we pray for a speedy end to this plague which is decimating our community.
Thank you, Regina. So with that, I'd love to invite up to light candles this Shabbat anyone who feels comfortable identifying as HIV positive and would like the honor of lighting candles this evening. I invite you up.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlikeh
Thank you, Shep. So with the memory of the angels that around us who died of AIDS, let's also welcome in the angels of Shabbat and sing Shalom Aleichem on page 40. Please rise in body or spirit.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seitchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Shabbat Shalom. Say Shabbat Shalom to your neighbor. Shabbat Shalom. So who do we have visiting here, either for the first time or the first time in a long time? Who is here for the first time? Yes, please. You can say your name and where you're from.
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Jason Civinciato, and I work at GMHC. Used to work at Leslie, and I'm honored to be here to enjoy this ceremony with you. It's beautiful.
Jason, we're so happy that you're here with us. It's our honor. Thank you very much. Who else would like? Yes.
Hi, Shabbat Shalom. I'm Kelsey Louie. I currently work at the Dory Circuit GMHC, and I'll be speaking later today.
Kelsey, we're so happy to have you here. Thank you so much. So happy that you're here.
Hi, I'm Jonah Mendelssohn. First time in the building.
All right.
20 years ago, but first time in the building.
Shabbat Shalom. Jonah, where are you coming from today?
I'm a member at SAJ.
Okay, wonderful.
I'm actually rehearsing a show this weekend for World AIDS Day, an adaptation of the poetry of Paul Mourner.
Oh, wow. All right. So rehearsing a show for World AIDS Day. Thank you. Nice to have you, Jonah. Wonderful. Who else? Who else would like to say hello? Yes. Yes, you in the green plaid.
Yeah, my name is Fred Fishman. I'm here from San Francisco. It's not my first time, but the last time I was here at CBST was probably 30 or 32 years ago.
Wow. Well, that certainly is deserving of saying hello. Fred, it's so nice to have you visiting from San Francisco. Shabbat Shalom and welcome back. So certainly the first time in this building, too. Yes, in the back. Romy from Berkeley. Fantastic. Romy, so nice to have you. Shabbat Shalom. Anybody else? First time, long time? Yeah.
My name is Michael Harwood, and I've been attended my holiday services for the past couple of years for my first time for Shabbat.
Fantastic. Michael, really happy to have you. Over there?
My name is Emily. I'm visiting from Connecticut. I haven't been here since before the pandemic, so this is really beautiful to be back.
Awesome. Emily, what part of Connecticut?
Stamford.
All right, Emily from Stanford, really nice to have you, thank you. Did I miss anybody? Nice to see a lot of familiar faces too, really happy that you're all here. So Shabbat Shalom, so good to be with you all. And we are blessed that it's Shabbat, and that even in the midst of tonight, we are honoring those who we lost from AIDS and calling back to the times where every week was a week where CBST was mourning and honoring the name of somebody who was lost from AIDS. Even during that time, there was always room for Shabbat. There was always a place and a time for a little bit of light in a world that might have otherwise felt like it was caving in, and Shabbat is that time, and we do not want to forget that. So let's sing and celebrate together, page 52.
לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה לאדוני. לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה לאדוני. נריע, נריע לצור אישנו, נקדמה פניו בתודה. נריע, נריע לצור אישנו, בזמירות נריע לו. יאי לי 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 לי, יאי לי 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 לי, יאי לי 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 לי, יאי לי 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 לי, יאי לי 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 לי, יאי לי 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 לי. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו.
Page 62, please rise in body or in spirit.
מזמור לדוד, הבו לאדוני בנעלים, הבו לאדוני כבוד ועוז, הבו לאדוני כבוד שמו, השתחוו לאדוני בהדרת קודש. כל אדוני על המים אל הכבוד הרים. אדוני על מים רבים. אדוני על מים רבים. איי 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 כל אדוני בכוח, כל אדוני בהדר, כל אדוני שובר ארזים, וישבר אדוני את ארזי הלבנון. וירקידם כמו עגל, לבנון וסיריון כמו בן רעים. איי 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 כל אדוני חוצב להבות אש, כל אדוני יחיד Adonai Oz Le'amo Yitein Adonai Yevarech et Amo Vashalom.
You may be seated. So since about 2016, when the Yortzeit, when the day of that marks the death date of Leonard Cohen has come up, Joyce and Cantor Rosen have wanted to make sure that we have a little bit of Leonard Cohen's music with us in CBST services. So tonight we get to hear a little bit of Leonard Cohen in our Lecha Dodi. Leonard Cohen, who was either given or given himself the moniker of the Nightingale of the Sinai. So we get to hear a little of the Nightingale of the Sinai tonight, Lecha Dodi, page 66.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekavela Lecha Dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekavela Shamor v'zachor b'diבור echad Hishmi'anu el hamiuchad Adonai echad u'shmo echad L'shem tiferet likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekavela Lecha Dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekavela Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha Ki hi mekor habracha Merosh mikedem nesucha Sof ma'aseh b'machshava techila Lecha Dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekavela Lecha Dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekavela Mikdash melech ir melucha Kum yitzei mitoch afecha Rav lach shevet be'emek habacha Vehu yachamol alayich chemla Lecha Dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekavela Lecha Dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekavela הנערים מעפר קומי לבשי בגדי תפארתך עמי על יד בן שי בית הלחמי קורבה נפשי גאלה Lecha Dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekavela עורך קומי אורי 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 שיר דברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת מקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת מקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת מקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת מקבלה לא תבושי ולא תקלמי מה תשתוכחי ומה תהמי בך יחסו עניי עמי ונמלטה עיר אצילה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת מקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת מקבלה והיו למשיסה שוסייך ורחקו כל מבלייך יסיס עלייך אלוהייך כמסוס לב באהבה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת מקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת מקבלה ימין ושמאל תפרוצי ואת אדוני תעריצי על יד איש בין פרצי ונשמחה ונגילה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת מקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת מקבלה בואי ושלום עטרת שכינה גם בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה בואי חלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת מקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת מקבלה איי 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 ניי 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 איי 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 שבת מקבלה לך דודי לקראת
may be seated. I don't think that there is any better room to be in than right here tonight. So, I mean, which leads us right into giving thanks. Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbat, the psalm for Shabbat. Tov lehodot l'Adonai ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. It is so good to give thanks to the one above, to sing praises to your name, Most High, to give thanks that we're here in this room, that we're here among community, that we get to be here, that we chose to be here tonight. And I'm in complete gratitude and complete awe of getting to be here with all of you, and I just want to give a lot of thanks. Before we move into Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbat, please turn and just read along with me, page 205. At the top of the page, the words from Tony Kushner from Angels in America. Bless me anyway. I want more life. I can't help myself. I do. I lived through such terrible times, and there are people who live through much worse and much worse, but you see them living anyway. When they're more spirit than body, more spores than skin, when they're burned and in agony, when flies lay eggs in the corner of their eyes of their children, they live. Death usually has to take life away. I don't know if that's just the animal. I don't know if it's not braver to die, but I recognize the habit, the addiction to being alive. We live past hope. If I can find hope anywhere, that's it. That's the best I can do. It's so much not enough, so inadequate, but bless me anyway. I want more life. Tov lehodot l'Adonai. It is so good to give thanks. Page 72.
Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbat. Tov lehodot l'Adonai ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות. טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות. עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי
I'd like to invite up Rick Landman to read from another excerpt of one of the condolence notices from the early years or the mid-years of CBST.
Our member Peter Vogel died of AIDS on February 21st, 1986. Peter was chair of Governor Cuomo's Gay Task Force and vice chair of the AIDS Advisory Council at the time of his death. He was also a founder and president of Brooklyn's Lambda Independent Democrats, head of the National Association of Gay and Lesbian Democratic Clubs, and founding member of the Lesbian and Gay Community Services Center. The California State Assembly adjourned in its honor upon his death. His funeral at CBST drew over 500 mourners.
Thank you. So we bring in the evening with the words of that condolence notice and the other condolence notices that we've both heard this evening and that are present with us. Their memories will forever be a blessing. Page 78, please rise in body or in spirit.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
You may be seated. On page 80. Praised are you, Eternal One, our God, ruler of all time and space, whose words bring on the evening dusk. With wisdom you open the gates of dawn. With understanding you make time pass and seasons change. You arrange the stars in the sky according to your plan. You create day and night, rolling light into darkness, darkness into light. You cause the day to fade away and bring on night. You separate day and night. Source of all forces is your name, living and everlasting one. Rule over us forever and ever. Praised are you, Eternal One, who brings on evening dusk.
מעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב ערבים, אמן.
Page 86.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו ובקומנו, נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, לאורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
We continue with the second two paragraphs of the Shema individually.
Elohechem emet.
Page 94.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה לי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
So we've traveled a little bit through time, through the CBST history books, starting in 1981, when the word AIDS wasn't even known, and traveling through the 80s and into the early 90s, where the plague of AIDS was truly decimating CBST, and every week there was more news and more news and more news, into the 90s, where it was really all the time. And so to read our last excerpt, our last reading, I'd like to, previously we had Regina Linder and Rick Landman, who I'm very grateful, who agreed to come up and read, who were part of the community in those days and who knew these people. But I also want to invite up Kuberberg Rittmaster Rabbinic intern Adam Graubart, who is a member of the new generation, who is carrying on this legacy, and who and I know that there's so many Aleinu people here tonight as well, and I'm so happy that you're all here, and we are all also part of carrying on this legacy, and that's why it's so important that we say these names and that we uplift these memories. So Adam, thank you so much. Come up.
June 1990. We mourn the loss of our member Roger Chung, who succumbed to AIDS in April at the age of 43. Roger came to the United States from Taiwan in 1973. Several years later, he joined CBST as a result of a strong interest in Judaism. He learned Hebrew, including the ability to read the commentaries of Rashi. He was an active member of the Talmud class and could often be found on Friday evenings studying Talmud in the library. Roger worked as a computer programmer and enjoyed sailing.
Thank you, Adam. And I love that one because we're still here. We're still in Talmud class. We're still learning, hopefully some of us learning Hebrew to learn some of the commentary of the Rashis. And that's all of us. This our member was all of us. And so thank you very much for reading that, Adam. And to honor all of their blessings, I want to invite us into a space for Hashkivenu, where we're praying for protection, praying for greater healing, greater justice, greater research, greater liberation for all of us, so that we can continue the legacies that came before us and that we move into the future with health and hopefully wellness for all. Hashkivenu 98.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom v'hamidenu Malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom v'hamidenu Malkeinu lechaim. Ushmor tzeitenu uvoenu lechaim ושלום מעתה ועד עולם. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom v'hamidenu Malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom v'hamidenu Malkeinu lechaim. ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ברוך אתה אדוני הפורס סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל כל העמים ועל ירושלים.
May we lay down in peace tonight and waken tomorrow to a richer and fuller life. Turn to page 102 for Vishamru as we enter towards the Shabbat Amida. Please rise in body or in spirit.
לעשות את השבת Shabbat vayinafash.
We turn to Chatzi Kaddish on page 104, and then we'll move directly into the Shabbat Amida, pages 106 to 118, where you are welcome to take the time to pray the words in the Siddur, the words on the page, either in Hebrew or in English, or really just check in with yourself and ask yourself where your heart is right now. What does your heart need tonight? What prayer do you need to say? What do you need to ask for? What are you hoping for? What do you need to receive? If your heart is in pain or hurting, my heart is with you. Just ask yourself, where's your heart tonight? Page 104.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה ועלמא דברה קדותי והמליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומייכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב וימרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה ברכו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמינן בעלמה וימרו
Find a seat. And if you're still davening, if you're still praying, please continue to do so. In the program, on page 7, you'll find a piece by William Finn. Bill, what did you say? Oh, I'm sorry. It's not in the program. Thank you. Thank you, Cantor Rosen, for always I actually just want to say I'm so grateful that I get to work with this amazing music team. So I'll share more gratitude next week. But it's just, getting to daven and pray with you both. It's such a real blessing. So not in the program, but but on page 202, you'll find Mark's All-Male Thanksgiving, written by a CBST member, William Finn. Bill Finn. So we're graced with that tonight. 202.
Every Thanksgiving, Mark made his all-male Thanksgiving dinner, where men cooked the turkey and men made the cranberry sauce without nuts, 'cause men don't like nuts. But the stuffing was manly, the finger bowls ditto, and ditto the pureed sweet yams. Very manly when Mark made his all-male Thanksgiving. Bill Sherwood was present. He wrote and directed Parting Glances, a movie for which Mark raised the money, in which Arthur invested, and the Thanksgiving crew put money into. Steve Buscemi was featured his first time on screen, and you knew you were watching a star. God, he was great, but he wasn't at Mark's all-male Thanksgiving. Remembering this is sort of like Grandpa remembering his shtetl. It seemed to take place so long ago. In the past, the memories last, but fade. What a community we made. Diplomats, poets, opera guys dressed in leather breeches. Some paunchy, some starting to bald, some were awful, and some were okay in a non-threatening way. Mark the lawyer wore flannel, he comes from Wisconsin. The handsomest guy wore a tie. That was Arthur, sweetly decent, funny, and living. I met Arthur when Mark made his all-male Thanksgiving. And the excellent movie that Bill Sherwood filmed was his first and his last, since alas, the boy passed. Arthur still, when he smiles, he makes my heart flutter. We think it's been 22 years. I wrote marks all male Thanksgiving. It's been so long since Mark made his all-male Thanksgiving. Where we gave thanks.
Pretty beautiful. Thank you. 130. Mishaberach imotenu Sarah Rivka, Leah Rachel, Bilha v'Zilpa, v'avotenu Avraham, Yitzchak v'Yaakov, hu yivarech v'yirapeh et hacholim. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, Rachel, Bilha, and Zilpa, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, bless us too. Bless and heal all those who are ill. CBST holds in its healing prayers this evening Mickey Dickinson, Linda Solomon, Erica Foreman, Phil Sunachan, Cynthia Friedman, Terry Tamola, Pam Hinden, Marsha Wallen, Lori Kropman, Mark Zalkin, Bernice Cohen-Mazer, Mordechai Ben Nachman Vebela Rivka, Alan Messer, Yerna Maria Batsilka Veakiva, and Ethel Presser. Also pause for folks who are in the room or on the chat to be able to add names that they would like to pray for the healing of right now. May they be blessed with a full and complete healing, a healing of spirit and a healing of body, together with all those who are ill among the Jewish people and among the world. May those who will not be healed on this earth be blessed with nights free from suffering and days filled with peace. May God grant strength and comfort to those who care for the sick. May God help us to find hope and courage as we face fear and loss. May all who are ill be surrounded by the love of friends, loving companions, families, and community. And let us say, Amen. And now you can turn to the program on page 7. Because for tonight, we also wanted to include a prayer not just for those who are ill in body or spirit, but also for all of those of us who are suffering from a broken heart, either from grief or mourning and loss, or any other type of broken heart.
הרופא לשבורי לב ומכבש לעצבותם מונה מספר לכוכבים לכולם שמו יקרא Healer of the broken-hearted, binder of our wounds, counter
Shvurei Lev. God, you are the healer of our broken hearts. Please bless over us with your peace, with your comfort, with your care. Heal all the places in us that need to be healed. Let us say, Amen. I'm excited to invite up Shep, longtime chair of the Red Ribbon team, to recite the prayer for our country. Shep, did I get your title wrong? You can correct me. That's okay. Great. Longtime member of the Red Ribbon team, and the prayer for our country can be found in the program on page 9. You can choose, Shep, either the top or the bottom.
Cut that out.
And if you want it bigger, you can read here. But so this is the bottom and this is the top there.
Okay, the bottom. Shut up. Source of all life, guide our leaders with righteousness, strengthen their hearts, but keep them from hardening, that they may use their influence and authority to speak truth and act for justice. May all who dwell in this country share in its bounty, enjoy its freedoms, and be protected by its laws. May this nation use its power and wealth to be a voice of justice, peace, and equality for all who dwell on earth. May we be strong and have courage to be bold in our action and deep in our compassion, to discern when we must listen and when we must act, to uproot bigotry, intolerance, misogyny, racism, discrimination, and violence in all its forms, to celebrate the many faces of God reflected in the wondrous diversity of humanity, to welcome the stranger and the immigrant, and to honor the gifts of all those who seek refuge and possibility here, as they have since before this nation was born. Let justice well up like waters, and righteousness like a mighty stream. Amen. If only.
Page 138.
יתגדל ויתקדש שם רבה ועלמא דברי קיוטה וימליך מלכותה בחיי חונו ימי בחיי דכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה. ברכו לאלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. תתקבל צורות הון ובאות הון דכל ישראל קודם אבוהון דיבישמיה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלום רב מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום ממרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן.
Thank you so much for the service tonight. It's so moving. I'm very struck tonight by some of Rabbi Werber's beautiful words acknowledging the multi-generational issues related to HIV and AIDS, and how those of us in different generations fundamentally have a very different relationship to it. And all the different generations have so much to learn from each other. And I found this so moving to be led in a service by Cantor Rosen and Rabbi Werber, and hear you, Adam, three of our leaders of our community never have known a world without AIDS. Let's just take that in for a moment. And then to have those of you participating in the service tonight, including me, for whom AIDS was a transformational, psychic, impossible to overstate role in our lives and in our hearts. And we look at the wall behind us and we know most of the names that are there. And the power of this community in particular is exactly this multi-generational piece to it. That there isn't one way now, and we are in an age, in a world in which what AIDS is and what AIDS means is very significantly different, and in some ways exactly the same. But we're thrilled to have our speaker tonight who perfectly embodies some of these issues. And we in this community, as we look back over these many years from that July 1981 New York Times article which said 4 gay men in Los Angeles have died from an unknown disease, to the letter so beautifully we read by Michael Levian from July of 1981, writing from Israel. He was to die 6 months later in December of 1981. And here we are as a community of many generations trying to find our way in a world which is full of so many wackadoodle things. And we have a lot to learn from this period that AIDS forged, or in which we were forged. So I'll get to introducing our speaker. I just want to say I was very happy to wear the rainbow kippah at the White House state dinner last night. I have worn it many times at the White House, but never for a state dinner. So I was carrying all of you with me, and I want to say one word about the state dinner last night. There's much to say. A state dinner is a major event in the world of diplomacy. It's not just a party. It is when our government welcomes another government in multi-day activities of diplomacy and conversation and hopefully moving some agendas forward. And the dinner is a time for the entire country to celebrate another country. And it's done with the food, with the decoration, with the music. And this, of course, was celebrating and welcoming in President Macron from France. And while it was a really spectacular party, and I have a lot to say about that, and really fun, I mean, Ariana DeBose, you know, how cool was that? And Karine Jean-Pierre, very good lesbian representation there. Mayor Pete, of course, he's now Secretary Buttigieg, but anyway, we had very good LGBT representation, and because this is the most pro-labor president in the history of the United States, almost every major union was represented, which is, by the way, how I got the invitation, because I happened to be connected to somebody. So to see so many labor leaders at a state dinner, that's not normal. That is not a normal thing. So it's very moving. Of course, senators and members of Congress and cabinet, etc. But here's what I just want to leave you with, one thing as we move into thinking about where we are today with our very, very special guest speaker, is that before the dinner itself starts, each president offers a toast on behalf of each country to the other one. And it's a very formal process. But so the President of the United States thanked France for coming to our service during the Revolutionary War. We would not have won against Great Britain without France. To create this democracy in those years, to establish the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. And the President of France thanked the United States for coming to the beaches of Normandy and freeing Europe from the fascism of World War II. And each of them said, and now we must be joined together to fight the forces of fascism and authoritarianism which are threatening the entire world. So it was a wonderful party, but it was much deeper than that. It was these two countries saying to each other, we have to remember our histories, but with the realities we're facing now, we need each other. So it was very moving to be there, and I just share that with you to say how deeply moved I was, and how they so beautifully acknowledged the complexity of the moment. And then they played French folk songs and show tunes. Anyway, and in this moment, I feel like some of the greatest wisdom CBST and those of us who lived through AIDS learned was through AIDS, taught many of us very deep messages and lessons about how to survive tragedy, how to survive oppression, how to survive a government that didn't care about us or notice us, and how to make change when we had no political power. And that's a lot we have to remember today. So we're thrilled today to have Kelsey Louie about to speak to us. And I want to thank Jay Fisher for recommending you as our speaker today. And of course, CBST has a long history with GMHC. Mel Rosen, who was CBST longtime member and president, was also very active in the foundation of GMHC back in the earliest years. Many CBST members were active. I was on the board of GMHC in the early 1990s for several years. And of course, our beloved Rita Fisher was, I think, one of, I'm going to be corrected by Jay, the #1 individual fundraiser in the GMHC AIDS Walk for the many years that she walked and raised money from anybody who she encountered. And one of the reasons, as I said, Kelsey, that we're so thrilled that you're here today is because we as a multi-generational community, I, as somebody who's been the senior rabbi here for so many years through all of this, know that in your leadership of GMHC from 2014 to 2021, and in your role today as the CEO of The Door, and in your role in statewide and national AIDS issues, you've helped to transform the AIDS movement, certainly in our city and in our state, from just being about what happened back in the 80s and 90s to really reflecting the realities today and what it means for young people today, and forcing the LGBTQ community and the AIDS health community to recognize young people and to really think deeply about young people and relationships to HIV and AIDS. So Kelsey's bio is on page 5 and 6 of our program, and as is our wont, we don't want to give your long bio, it's here written down. We're thrilled to have you at our Bima. You've been an important, major leader on all of these issues, and we're thrilled, Kelsey, to invite you to our Bima to speak to us tonight.
Thank you, Rabbi Clownbound. Thank you for everything you've done for our communities, and probably now one of the greatest honors of my life, being introduced by you. So I might need a moment. Thank you, Rabbi Werber, as well. This is such a beautiful night. I'm just glad I didn't have to sing with this microphone. Hello and Shabbat Shalom. My name is Kelsey Louie, and I'm the proud CEO of The Door, a premier youth development organization. I'm also a proud gay man and a proud former CEO of Gay Men's Health Crisis, the world's first HIV/AIDS service organization. I want to start by thanking Jay Fisher for inviting me to speak today about HIV and AIDS. It's so great to see you, Michael and Jay. I also want to acknowledge Michael Harwood, a former board chair of GMHC. Without him, none of my success would have been possible, so thank you. In my years working in the HIV and AIDS field, I learned one thing time and again. We cannot do this work alone. All of our progress over the 41 years of the AIDS epidemic has been the result of the strength and momentum we gain from working together, which is why speaking here tonight is so special to me. I would like to recognize how many people in this community have provided care for people living with HIV and AIDS, whether it's through a job, a volunteer role, or activism, by caring for someone you love, or by raising money at AIDS Walk. It's so special that commemorating World AIDS Day is part of the ritual calendar. Every person's engagement has ripple effects that make a huge difference. To find the embodiment of that kind of individual commitment and its impact, one doesn't need to look any further than Jay's mother, Rita, who with many of you is the highest AIDS Walk fundraiser in GMHC's history, having raised more than $1 million. Thank you, Rita, for all that you've done. I know that you're listening tonight. When COVID first came about, many people started to compare this new pandemic with the HIV/AIDS epidemic. Yes, there were a lot of similarities. Poor communities and communities of color were hit harder. Another more important similarity is that communities showed up for one another. I saw firsthand how the HIV/AIDS community came together to support one another during COVID. It recalled the darkest days of the epidemic when AIDS was considered a death sentence that mostly affected gay men, and the government wasted years doing nothing. One of the most touching responses to AIDS within the community came from kind, powerful women of varied backgrounds who stepped up to help, care for, and advocate for those at risk, for the newly diagnosed, the sick, and the dying when no one else would. Similarly, when COVID hit, it didn't matter that coronavirus wasn't in an aid service organization's mission statement. Organizations like GMHC understand that deadly, infectious viruses with no cure and the public health crises they cause affect us all. We know that pandemics, epidemics, and other public health emergencies thrive on silence, information silos, discrimination, poverty, and other socioeconomic inequities. AIDS organizations knew the critical importance of raising awareness and disseminating factual information about how COVID is and is not transmitted, as well as combating misinformation, stigma, and barriers to care. And when COVID vaccines became available, the discourse that took place to ensure broad access and to prioritize populations at greatest risk was inspiring. As we shift to a more hybrid phase of the COVID pandemic, we're seeing that whether it's COVID, MPV, HIV, the same drivers that turn infectious disease outbreaks into public health emergencies are at play, and the work involved in battling those drivers remain the same. On the upside, when we work together, when we create health policies driven by science and data, share critical resources equitably, break down stigma, and dismantle barriers to care, especially those caused by racism, homophobia, transphobia, and misogyny, we make amazing progress. We've seen that kind of progress with COVID and MPV, and we still see it with what's happening with HIV and AIDS today. Here are some highlights from the newest HIV surveillance data released by the New York City Department of Health for World AIDS Day yesterday. From 2019 to 2021, the estimated number of new HIV infections in New York City decreased by 8%. Likewise, new HIV diagnoses in New York City is down, in 2021, is down 23% since 2017, and down 73% since 2001. And even some of the not great data news this week was a temporary anomaly that was expected. In 2021, for the first time in years, New York City saw an atypical increase in the annual number of new HIV diagnoses of 14%. However, that surge was anticipated as a COVID rebound. During the first waves of COVID in 2020, HIV testing and prevention services were less available and accessible. New HIV diagnoses dropped at a steeper rate as a result. However, in 2021, many sites reopened and resumed HIV services. Simply put, it's likely that the people who delayed testing during the early COVID waves tested in 2021 instead, hence the spike. The real downside in HIV right now is the data that's not an anomaly. This is the stuff we've known for a very long time. HIV continues to disproportionately affect Black and brown people, women of color, and LGBTQ people, especially LGBTQ people of color. Some salient 2021 data that reflects ongoing health disparities. 60% of all men newly diagnosed with HIV were men who have sex with men. 80% of all men newly diagnosed were Black or Latinx. 88% of all women newly diagnosed with HIV were Black or Latinx. So, we still have a lot more work to do. If anything, the heightened stigma around COVID and MPV have shown how the work that we've been doing for the last 41 years to fight HIV and AIDS is still relevant today. Infectious disease thrives where it always has, in the shadows, under veils of shame and fear. We still have work to do on the biomedical side as well, to find better, cheaper treatments, as well as a cure and a vaccine. But our biggest remaining battles in HIV and AIDS are combating stigma, ignorance, and health disparities. 20 years ago, HIV prevention in pill forms, PrEP and PEP, didn't exist. That innovation has been a game changer, and ending the epidemic depends on getting more people on PrEP. But we can't harness the power of PrEP or any other biomedical innovation when stigma, ignorance, or both stop people from getting tested, seeking treatment, and getting the help that they need. Case in point, high cost, complex insurance coverage, and HIV medication hesitancy remain common barriers for PrEP. So PrEP usage is far lower than it needs to be, especially in the communities that need it the most. PrEP isn't getting to those at greatest risk fast enough. All that needs to change. My time at the door has underscored that need. Of the 11,000 young people the door sees each year, about 20% identify as LGBTQ. With 1,600 new HIV infections each year in New York City, I believe that the door is uniquely positioned to help end the epidemic. We are able to educate young people about HIV testing, PrEP and PEP, and sexual health, young people who may not consider themselves to be at risk. A study done by Kaiser Permanente revealed that in 2019, more than 50% of people underestimated their risk level for HIV infection. If people don't believe they're at risk, then they won't take the necessary precautions. As always, the solutions are rooted in expanding access to every prevention and treatment tool we've got, and building awareness and educating people about HIV across all demographics, young people especially. We have to find a way to get our messages to the people who need it the most in the most accessible way possible. So my biggest message to you tonight is that what we talk about matters, because what we talk about becomes what we pay attention to and what we act on. The stories we share matter at every level, whether that's at the dinner table, among our friends and family, in our houses of worship, in our workplaces, and the powerful halls of government, and in the media. The truth is, it wasn't only about gay men in the 1980s, and it still isn't. But people will only know that if we talk about it, disseminate good information, and share the powerful stories of the people who are affected by HIV and AIDS. After all, silence equals death. This is our work. Our work is to transform science into policy, headlines into real resources, hope into commitment, and talk into action. Thank you for doing your part in that. Together, we will keep up the good fight, and we will end AIDS once and for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy that you were here tonight. It's just really, it speaks volumes, and it's such an honor and a blessing for our community. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I think perfectly to go along with your words, let's turn to page 134.
אל קרוב לכל קוריו, אך קרוב ליראיו אישו. We pray for healing of the body. We pray for healing of the soul. For once again behold, El Narefana. Oh, please heal us now. Refuat ha-nefesh u'refuat ha-guf, refuah shelema. Heal us now. Heal us now. We pray for healing of our people. We pray for healing of the land and peace for every race and nation, every child, every person, hand in hand. El Narefana. Oh, please heal us now. Refuat ha-nefesh u'refuat ha-guf, refuah shelema. Heal us now. Heal us now. Heal us now.
Aleinu, page 100 and, why am I missing it? 140, thank you. Please rise in body or spirit.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שברא אותנו בצלמו, ונפח בנו את נשמת חיינו, שהעמיק אותנו בלימוד תורתו, וקידשנו במצוותיה, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר הארץ, ומושב עיקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגופי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום וחשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
So way back at the beginning of the service, I read the letter from Michael Levian, who, as we heard, then went on to die from AIDS just 6 months later after he sent that letter. And in the condolence notice that was sent out about him to our community, it said, "Our community is greatly diminished by this loss." So before we head into Mourner's Kaddish, I just want us to take one moment of pause and to look around at the places that are empty because of all that we have lost, and to acknowledge that our community is greatly diminished by all we have lost. Tonight, CBST marks the yortzites of members Rose Lachter, Jeffrey Klotz, Larry Utal, and Jay Newman, as well as family and friends of CBST members Manju Modi, Barton Farber, Pamela Khan Baca, Mark Rosenberg, Colette Abelkor Muscat, Max Shiner, Parvin Namdar, Stanley Tallis, Matthew Joseph Levine, A. Alexander Dubin, Feliciano Frusciante, and Jonathan Chervin. We'll enter into Mourner's Kaddish with a poem on page 203 by Richard Howe, and then go directly into Mourner's Kaddish on page 150. When Moses died in sight of the Promised Land and was buried by God in the land of Moab near Beth Peor, where exactly even to this day no one knows, there never again, so it was said, arose in Israel a prophet like him, whom the Lord singled out face to face. But the Mishnah tells us that later on it was also said that when Rabbi Azai died, there were no more diligent students. When Rabbi Zoma died, there were no more teachers. When Rabbi Joshua died, goodness departed from this world. When Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel died, the locusts came and troubles grew many. When Rabbi Akiva died, the glory of the law ceased. When Rabbi Yossi Katanuta died, there were no more saintly ones. When Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai died, the splendor of wisdom ceased. When Rabbi Judah Hanasi died, humility and the shunning of sin ceased. But yet another generation later, we learn in the Gemara, Rav Nachman ventured to say, one should not say the shunning of sin ceased, for I am still here. And Rav Yosef even went so far as to say, one should not say humility died, for I am still here. And so are we. We too are still here. But the subject is large, too large at least for this occasion, and there is something else for me to do here. Take David, for instance. David is dead. When David died, painting faded. Michael is also dead. When Michael died, the theater dimmed. Ed is dead. When Ed died, the piano was stilled. When Eric died, the stories grew stale. When Christopher died, dancing was lamed. When Burris died, singing grew hoarse. When Rob died, acting grew hollow. When Steve died, there were never again such smiles as his. When Neil died, there were no more teachers. When John died, the locusts came and troubles grew many. When Ray died, the glory of the law ceased. When Philip died, the splendor of wisdom ceased. When Tom died. Page 150. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. V'yalma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon u'v'yamechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam omei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei dekudasha berechu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, ta'amiran v'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru, amen. You may be seated. I also want to extend our deep condolences to the mourners who are among us. CBST member Karen Ben Ezra on the death of her sister-in-law, Rena Kaplan, Zichrona Livracha, who died on November 17th. CBST's executive director and past president, Yolanda Podosinski, on the death of her nephew, Abraham Gelman, Zichrono Livracha, who died on November 24th. CBST board member Lori Magid on the death of her father, Abraham Magid, Zichrono Livracha, who died on November 26th. May God comfort all those who mourn, and may the one who brings peace on the heavens bring peace on the earth. And let us say, Amen. So now I'm so excited to invite up CBST President Sabrina Farber for some announcements.
Well, thank you, Rabbi. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to CBST. I'm so grateful that so many of you are joining us from near and far and via live stream to celebrate Shabbat in community. Thank you to our Baal Tefillah Cantor Sam Rosen, and thanks to Rabbi Yael Werber for your service leadership. Thanks always to our music director, Joyce Rosenzweig. And special thanks to Kelsey Louie for helping us mark this World AIDS Day Shabbat. Thank you so much to Jay Fisher and Michael Levine for connecting us with Kelsey and making this evening's remarks. Sorry, Michael Lerman. Sorry, right. Yes, Jay Fisher and Michael Lerman. What is the matter with me? I'm thinking of a different Michael Levine for connecting us with Kelsey and making this evening's remarks a reality. Thanks also to our ushers, Gomez and Bonnie, and thanks to Sharon on chat and to Jason Zivic for all things tech. While we will not be hosting Shabbat services tomorrow morning, we hope that you can join us for Havdalah tomorrow evening at 7:30, led by Cooperberg Ripmaster Pastoral and Educational Intern Abigail Halpern. This is conflicting information, so if you have read something else, the information from me is actually correct, as I am told by Cantor Rosen, so and just in case you're under other thoughts. Please join us Monday, December 5th from 7:30 to 9 for a special CBST book launch. We are delighted to celebrate Dr. Roseanne Leipzig's Honest Aging, an insider's guide to the second half of life. As you know, Dr. Leipzig is a CBST board member and a longtime member and harnesses from more than 35 years of experience to deliver this indispensable guide to the second half of life, describing what to expect for your mind and body as you age. And I know that I plan to be there. 1 week from tonight, Friday, December 9th, please join us for the installation of Assistant Rabbi Yael Werber, a deeply moving and uniquely CBST service which will honor our newest clergy member. Thanks to all of you who have made tributes already. There is still time to add your voice. Go to cbst.org/give and click on Shabbat sponsorships for Friday, December 9th. And again, save the date on December 19th at 6 p.m. for our annual fundraising concert, Broadway at CBST, hosted by Seth Rudetsky, who will be joined by his amazing Broadway pals. A heads up for those of you from our 20s and 30s group, known as Aleinu. Co-chairs Max Leader and Jessica Bach have told me that there are special tickets available for this age group. Jessica's raising her hand in the back. If you have any questions, check with Jessica in the back, or email aleinu@cbst.org. This will be, as you know, co-chaired by Noemi Mazlia and Stephen Raphael of our board. Sponsorship opportunities are available and tickets, and we will also have a live stream. Now I have to take a minute, and this is where the Michael Levine came from, because there's too many Michael with L's at the end of their last name. I have to channel Michael Levine, who many of you know has been the longtime CBST guru of all things election and and annual meeting related. Michael? Right, he is our Secretary of State, exactly. So Michael is not here. Some of you may have noticed that. He is in the Philippines, so I'm waving hello to Michael and hopefully to Ray. Hope you're well and hope your flight was very easy, even though I know it was terribly long. We're going to do our best to get along this year without Michael Levine's presence at the CBST annual meeting. This is a big deal because pretty much every single other annual meeting that we have ever had since the dawn of time has been presided over by Michael Levine. So I'm doing my best to channel him by telling you that the annual meeting will take place on Thursday, December 15th at 6 p.m. It is open to all CBST members. This will be our first hybrid meeting, which means you can join us in person here in the sanctuary, or you can join us by Zoom. The link will be available in the morning, on the morning of the meeting. You'll get another reminder this week. Don't forget, part of the reminder involves voting by proxy if you can ahead of time. That's very helpful for us. You can, however, vote in person at the meeting or on Zoom at the meeting. I hope I did okay, Michael. I miss you. Hope you're doing well. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Sabrina, and I also miss you, Michael. So hello to the Philippines. Oh, that's okay. No, there are too many sponsorships to read this evening, so we're not going to read the sponsorships, but I really encourage you to read them. Thank you, Sharon Golub, for putting them up in our chat. I have to tell you that I read them before the service, and I was actually very teary-eyed reading many of them, so I really do encourage you to read them. They're really, really moving. And now we can move to Kaddish and Motzi, which can be found on page 156. Please rise in body or spirit.
Oops. Yom HaShishi, Vayichulu HaShemayim ve'aretz b'chol tzeva'am, Vayichal Elohim, Bayom HaShvi'i, Melachto asher hasa, Vayishbot Mayom HaShvi'i, Mikol Melachto asher hasa, Vayivarech Elohim et Yom HaShvi'i, Vayikadesh oto, Kivo Shabbat Mikol Melachto, asher bara Elohim lasot, Savri Chavera v'Chavrotai L'chaim Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Borei Peri HaGafen Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Kishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu V'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron le'maseh bereshit ki hu yom techila le'mikra'ei kodesh zecher nitziat mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta ואותנו קידשת עם כל העמים ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Oops. It's going to be sticky.
All right, so everybody can gather around, and yes, I see the Talito have come down, so we'll try and be connected. Yes, Renee? Yes, Kelsey, and you've done it perfectly. We'll try to be connected as best we can. All right, I think everyone's in, so we can all say together.
Baruch atah Adonai